When you have followed my YouTube channel, you know that I was busy with the so-called book capacitor, and I'm trying to make a superheterodyne radio with it. And here is that first book plate. That book plate is now connected to the antenna coil, I mean the book capacitor. And here is the other book capacitor. It is now connected to the local oscillator. Though on top of that local oscillator there is a stabilizer, a voltage stabilizer of say 7812. It makes 12 volt stabilized out of sources up to say 30 volts, perhaps 24 volts, but of course I'm not going so high, and I will tell more about it. Say the supply voltage of that 7812 voltage stabilizer. Perhaps more interesting is this. In an earlier video I talked and told, say, I don't want to publish another TRF amplifier, but also in this project, and this is the project, the book capacitor Superhet for the 41 meter band. Also, when you want to make a superheterodyne radio, the first and best idea is to make at first a TRF radio that receives, say, more or less in the frequency band that you want to receive, and it's here. You see the antenna coil, of course, with the antenna capacitor are responsible for that. And here you see the antenna coil, and here is the schematic. Hope it's a little bit clear. And when you study it, you see here that we have here 9 windings and also 9 windings, so together 18 windings, and they are made of isolated plastic wire, and the outdoor diameter is 1 millimeter. But of course, say the copper inside is of course a somewhat lower diameter anyway. And this is, say, an important thing to tell, but anyway, this radio, when you want to use it in practice here, has that field effect transistor on its input, and when you connect it to an outdoor antenna, it could be that the static charges on a long wire outdoor antenna get very high, damaging the field effect transistor, and that is this field effect transistor. So you can use, say, a shortcut switch here to connect the gate to ground, and in that case the field effect transistor that is responsible for, say, the radio reception in a big way, because it is a high frequency amplifier, and the gate cannot be damaged. Anyway, this is more or less classical. I've also talked about it in earlier videos. I don't want to elaborate too much on it. You need here a germanium diode, say the 1N60. It is of course again the TRF ID, but I have say paid a lot of attention to that TRF ID. So I don't want to pay more attention to that. I have to switch off something in my kitchen. Anyway, well, like I thought, the most important thing is that when you want to make a super heterodyne, at first you must be sure that you receive certain frequencies on, say, the radio band that you want to receive, and in this case it's a 41 meter band. And I also found, for instance here, that I had no good results, or say in another word, not the perfect results, when the complete coil here, and that complete coil is 18 windings here, was in charge of receiving the radio signals. Anyway, it's only now connected here to the indoor antenna. In general, we know that a 14 picofarad capacitor is, say, the best value to receive shortwave radio signals, and then especially on between, say, 2 megahertz and, say, 12 megahertz. 14 picofarad you can use an indoor antenna, but also an outdoor antenna, and there are 2 outdoor antennas in my garden. But anyway, so here is that book capacitor. I've told about it earlier. Well, let's see how it works, and then especially what I mean, not on the oscillator here. The oscillator is here, the local oscillator for my Superhet head. This is, say, the antenna coil, and how that book capacitor now is usable for receiving radio stations in the band that I want to use here, 41 meter band, around 7 mega cycles. Let's listen. And of course we fall back to the not very selective TRF radio principle. Sorry for that, but it is a demo that is related to making the Superhet, where the selectivity will be much better. So let's turn the book capacitor here. Of course the radio fades away. That's completely logical. Here is, say, the radio station. Its amplitude modulation detected at the end. And well, let's go further. Here we have more or less no effect of tuning. So let's get back, move the capacitor plates to higher capacitance values of that book capacitor. All classical analog radio technology. Anyway. So at the moment we only receive one radio station, very, very fierce. I'm more or less sure that is Radio Romania, but anyway, in the Netherlands now, and the date is 26 September 2025 in the evening. We also have distortion. Well, that's a separate issue when we are talking about radio reception or audio amplifiers, etc. So, I think it works nice, but I want to demo something more. Here is a switch, and that is this switch here in the coil. So, when I push it, the coil gets, say when I open it, that's the idea, I open it now. When I open it, we get to a higher inductance of the coil, and that means that we are receiving, especially more or less in the theoretical way, but anyway, we receive radio stations on lower frequencies. Let's try. Here we have that typical sound around 6 megahertz, and you also receive it around 2.5 megahertz. I don't know what it is. Anyway, kind of scraping sound that you can hear anyway. So let's see. Could it work? Can we receive something with the book capacitor? Yes, we can receive something. And does this mean that we have bad reception results? No, not at all. I only connected now the indoor antenna, and with an outdoor antenna we have a completely other situation. I want to refer to all my earlier videos about TRF radios, etc., etc. Well, let's look again. We are on 26 September 2025 in the evening. And perhaps you can conclude, and I can conclude, that the selectivity here with that book capacitor is quite low. But, say, on other frequencies where the capacitance is higher, the selectivity gets better. But the super heterodyne principle will solve this problem. So I pan over in a certain way. I only have 2 minutes on my camera. Thanks for watching. This is only, say, a kind of vlog with a kind of progress. Anyway. Let's go back to the other. So you can see that the book capacitor works, and I hope to do more experiments with this super heterodyne setup. This is the circuit on the schematic, and thanks for watching again. It is a amplifier, high frequency amplifier for shortwave, and you can forget this part of the circuit.